you're storing it in a sealed container, or you're drying it, or you're pickling it, right? And pickling is something that just kind of disappeared, right? You know, except like a kosher pickle, something like that, you know. But pickles are very, very important because it gives you a fermented food that you can use, not as a primary food, but as something that you add into your diet, which helps you to build up good intestinal bacteria, again, because it's a fermentation process, right? So you have vegetables that are regional, right? And you have seeds and fruits and nuts which are regional. Sea harvest, right? Sea vegetables are one of the things that we don't think of a lot. This is a very rich food source, and one of the reasons it is, in terms of Western nutrition, is that it has the most broad spectrum of trace minerals, right? It has a lot of minerals that you can't find in land vegetables, right? And it's very diverse. But it's also expensive and it's rare, right? And so what that means is you use tiny amounts, right? Sometimes if you go even to a Japanese restaurant, you see the amount of seaweed that's in there, you think you're drowning in the, you know, in the ocean, right? You know, there's like wakame floating around in huge abundant amounts. That's not the way that those foods were used traditionally in Japan. Small amounts of them used in broth or to make condiments, very small condiments that are little side dishes that you use to enhance the food that you eat. Are they essential? No, if you're getting a lot of really good vegetables, they're not essential. But they can really be helpful, right, in terms of supplying a good diet. In terms of vegetable products, then, this can supply us with almost everything that we need, right? Many would say, and I would say too, right? I would be part of the many, right? Which is still a minority, right? That's all you need, right? You don't need anything else, right? Everything else is overkill, right? I would say that with exception, and that is depending on where you live and what the season is, right? And what kind of activity you're engaged in. Who was it that was telling me they ran the marathon? Anybody? Yeah, okay. So, athletes, right? You know, oftentimes I see athletes for counseling. Sometimes those athletes can do perfectly well on a vegan diet, right? And thrive, right? Sometimes they can't. Sometimes they need a little bit of extra protein. And so, particularly depending on the kind of sport that they're engaged with, a little bit of animal quality food makes sense, right? It makes sense because that's something they want to do, right? I'm not talking about the moral issue of killing animals here. I'm talking about the nutritional aspect of it, right? Okay? So if that's something that somebody really wants to do, and they've experimented with their diet and they found out that they can't do it, or that it's very difficult for them to do without having animal food, then obviously that's what you need to do. When I was 50, I guess I was part of a midlife crisis, I think. I decided that, or I felt that I was getting past it in terms of sports. You may have trouble identifying with this, right? But you know, I've been one of those people that have been very, very active and, you know, and everything. I never thought about, you know, not being physically active in the way that I was before. And all of a sudden I thought, God, you know, I don't know if I can play. You know, one of my sons was in his late teens then, and he was playing baseball, you know, and I would go out and I would hit the ball around with him and do stuff. And I think, you know, I'm not really quite as limber, quite as powerful as I was before. And I thought, well, this might be my last chance, so I'll, you know, get involved in some. I know it's terrible, stupid, but that's the way the mind works, and so that's the way my mind works anyway. So I thought, I'll go out, I'll get involved in a softball team. So it was a league in Colorado. It was a league in Colorado of a softball tournament, you know. And so there were some friends of mine that were involved in the team, and so I signed up for this team. And I went out and we were practicing everything. I could not hit the ball. You know, I mean, I could hit the ball. My hand-eye coordination was fine, but it barely made it past the pitcher's mound, right? You know, like clunk, right? That's it, you know. I could run like crazy. I could do everything except really get into the ball. And at that time, I was eating pretty much a vegan diet, and I thought, well, just increase a little, you know, a little bit, and a little bit, and a little bit. I started eating fish again, right? And I found I could hit the ball, which was very pleasurable for a period of time, you know. I mean, that's not a really good life purpose to have, right? To be able to hit a softball out of the infield, but it was a very interesting thing for me because I felt like I could do everything else except have that particular kind of power to play that sport without animal food, right? You know, and so I played for 4 or 5 years, and then I retired, right? Forcibly. I found out also that my body did not maintain contact. Softball is not supposed to be a contact sport, but you find that it often is, particularly when you're playing the fire department. You know, it's like they have a different idea of what the sport is supposed to be played like. So, animal food. Huh?